Hi folks, it's Joe Garzo here, aka Guitar Joe, and I'm at the Ace Drums on Tamiami in Port Charlotte, and I'm with
Jud Carper. I'm the guitar instructor at Ace Drums.
And what are you going to be doing for us today?
We're going to teach you how to restring an electric guitar.
So come on in and enjoy the show.
First thing, I don't take them all off at one time. A lot of times I just do one at a time. You're more than welcome to take them all off.
Why don't you do that?
I don't enjoy it.
Okay.
I don't like having them laying all over the place. I like to do one, and I put one back in the old bag.
But it's not harmful to take all 6 off?
Nope. You can take all 6 off. You can do whatever you want.
Because I find it easier to clean it when they're all off.
So what you want to do is when you're pulling this through your guitar, this is wound around your peg, and it's really jagged. You don't want to pull it through, so kind of straighten it out a little bit, and don't yank it through, just push it through, because then you'll scratch your guitar up if you just yank it. Don't yank it through your guitar. You just want to get it close to the end and go really slow when you're doing it.
Want to show them the hole in the back so they know?
So now this is where the string is going to come out, and this is where the new one will go back in, your first hole. That way you don't mistakenly put another one in. That's another reason for beginners. I wouldn't take them all off. I would only take one off at a time.
There's a 46 gauge.
And what I do is I take the new string out, and then I put the old string. That way everything goes in the garbage, and now you don't have pieces laying around your house. So basically every string has a ball end. It'll have a different color ball or all the same depending on the string you buy. Now that's the end will catch underneath, and I'll show you how that works. You're going to put your non-ball end through the hole, and sometimes it takes a little bit to get it through. And what you're going to want to do is you want to pull it. Don't yank it, just nice and soft. Pull it all the way through. And you can see it there, and it'll catch down there. Once it catches, I just keep pressure on it because I don't want it to fall back in the guitar. I usually want at least 2 to 3 wraps around your peg. And usually what I do, everybody has their own, these aren't lucky now. Okay, what I do is when I get my string through, I let it go. Let it untwist. Just let it relax. I don't want to twist in it when I'm doing it. Then I use a lift technique. This is just the way I do it. Pete does it his way. Everybody has their own way. So I use a lift technique. I lift about that far. And what I do up here is I keep the string pushed down because you want the string to wrap down. You never want the string to wrap up. It has to wrap down.
So you mean under?
It has to go under this piece right here. It has to wrap down, and in a minute I'll explain why that happens. What we're looking for is the angle of the string. This would be a winder. You don't have to have it, but it definitely saves you time when you're doing it.
And they're very cheap, like $3.
Yeah, they're not expensive, but we have better ones that have the cutter and have everything on the end, which I actually have that I prefer, way better. I like them. There you go.
Cool.
So now I have my wraps, and the whole reason for making sure it goes down is the angle from where it sits on this peg to this nut. I don't want it to pop out when I'm playing. If it comes up top, it'll pop out where you're playing. So we want this angle. That's what these trees are for. These trees, this tree holds these strings down so the angle up to the nut is better.
Why is it always just for the bottom 2 strings, the B and the E?
Because they're the ones that are going to break the most.
Okay, that's true.
You're going to snap them the most. And when you're bending a note, if you bend too much and do a lot of pull-offs, it'll pop out of that nut, and we don't want that. So this is what I was talking about. I'll give you a chance to look at that, Smith. You can see how the string's all wound up. So a lot of times I will straighten that out. So now we're back to the back again. Just push it through the hole. And like I said, don't yank on it. You don't want to scratch the front of your guitar. I'm real picky about that, so you don't yank on it, just get it out. And then wrap it back up like a new one, so the strings aren't laying around. If you have kids or if you have animals, make sure your strings get put away, because these things can hurt an animal and they can definitely hurt a little kid. So be real careful about what you do with your strings. So I always do the same thing. I always put the old string in the same, just so no kids or animals get hurt by them. I put them up, and that way they're not laying around and nobody's getting hurt.
So the gauge on these strings are XLs. They start at 10 for the thinnest ones. Can you tell people why they would choose a certain gauge?
Well,
XL or light or heavy?
Yeah, I'm a light player. I play an 8 gauge string.
Oh, really?
8 to 38. I enjoy it. I can bend it. I can do whatever I want with it. A lot of guys that like a little bit fatter sound will go with a bigger string. And a lot of guys will go with a bigger string and tune down a half a step. And that gives them, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, put 13s on his guitars, but he tuned down a half a step. And people don't realize that. But I go, he used 13s. Yeah, he did, but he did tune down a half a step using them.
So the benefit of that is it's easier to bend?
To bend, yeah, you want to bend. I mean, if you're a blues player, you better bend or you're not a blues player. So basically what I'm doing is trying to keep the pressure on this string. I don't want it to fall back in the guitar. I want to keep it up. So if you notice, I will run my finger up and I keep the pressure down. I want that string to wind down every single time. It can never wind up. Because then the guitar player is going to go play, and if they're an aggressive guitar player, the string will pop right out of the nut, and then he's not very happy with the person who strung their guitar. I do not cut the strings until I'm done. I wait till I'm completely finished before I cut the strings.
Why is that?
I want to tune it, and I will never tune a guitar laying flat. You always tune it like you're playing. Now I'm going to show you the second way. When you have this ball end, cut it off. And the only problem with cutting it off is maybe, okay, these cutters are useless.
Give you good cutters today.
No, these don't cut. Okay, so now when you cut that off, now you've really got a child or an animal problem. So please, please take care of these small parts.
Put it in the...
Yeah, put it in with the old string. And make sure when you drop it in there, close it, and make sure that gets thrown away. Now you don't have to worry about that wound part scratching your guitar all up.
Right.
That we don't want, ever.
You're right. I've seen people just yank it out there.
Oh, no. Yeah, I know, man. That's why I don't let no one touch my guitars. No one touches my instrument. I have to do it myself. I'm real picky the way I want my guitar, and I do not. If it's gonna get scratched, I want to put the scratch in it. Okay. Let me have your next string there, Joe.
There you go. 26.
So the 26 is just the gauge of what string this is. This would be a D string, and this gauge.
Yeah. Mine starts at 10. Like he said, he starts at 8. And Stevie Ray Vaughan, 13. So
yep.
Is that about the range, 8 to 13?
Pretty much. Nowadays it is. There's only one 7 set, and that's Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. He plays the 7. The only difference between his set and mine, or his bottom is 7 and mine is 8. All the others are the same.
Huh.
When we get to the tree, this is really important. You make sure the string goes under, and I'll show you how that works. So that's super important. Don't bypass that tree. That tree plays an intricate part of your guitar.
Definitely.
You never want to bypass that tree. I see people just take them off. Never take your tree off your guitar. Leave it on. It was meant to be there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And if you want me you to understand a little better, if you look at this neck, this is a flat piece of wood. It's not angled forward or backwards. So the strings go straight across. I need that tree to drop that angle from here to here. If I didn't have this tree, it would be a straight shot. And this would pop right out when I was playing. And that would not be a good thing. Joe would be very mad at me when he was playing his guitar.
I could never be mad at you, Jud.
And then it would be like, man, he did not a good job. I usually get it started with my fingers and get it wrapped before I bring this out. I just want to make sure it's
that's how I do it.
in the position that I really want it in. You want at least 2 wraps, 2 to 3. Nothing more than that. You don't need any more than that. That's all you're looking for.
I like how you just have them stuck up like that. Makes it a lot easier to cut them at the end of the
Yeah,
process.
I bend mine. I bend everything straight up in the air. That's my way, okay? It's not the only way.
Right.
Everybody has their own way of doing it. That's the way I do it.
Yeah, I bend it, but it's always in like in all different directions, whichever way.
Okay, we're back to that again. We want to cut that. We do not want, these are really, really hard to pull.
Yeah. You don't want to step on one of these at home, kids.
If you step on that or a dog or a cat gets a hold of it, it's bad. So please, please, please take care of those pieces. If you're going to be a cutter and you're going to cut that stuff, please take those parts and put them in a bag. Don't leave them laying around. Because even if you don't have kids or animals, when you step on that, you'll remember.
Oh yeah.
Because you will bleed. It will go right through your foot.
It's happened to me. Has it happened to you, Jud?
Oh, many times.
It's not a pleasant feeling.
That's why if you see when I cut it, I keep my hand on it so when it gets cut, it doesn't fly away. I want to have control over that little piece so I don't step on it. Or anybody else in the house step on it. And whatever you do, don't get in a hurry. If you don't have at least an hour to do this, don't do it. This is not something you get in a rush to do. Do it right.
Well, sometimes when you're on stage, and you've been there before, it happens during a show and you have to do it as
But that's
quickly as
one
possible.
string. That's different. We're not restringing the whole guitar. But when you're at home, and make sure you have time. Don't get in a hurry doing this. This is not something you want to rush through. You want it right.
Well, that's why it's important to have 2 decent guitars if you're going to be playing a show. In case you do bust a string, you can just grab the other one and worry about that on your break.
That's for sure. And I do the same on every string. I keep the pressure up here. I keep this up. Then I grab the string and I pull it up from the back to make sure it's in the hole. Then I'll come back up and I push down to keep that angle right where I wanted it. I want that angle to be down the whole time. I can't stress that enough.
So part of the reason you want 2 or 3 winds around, is it because it holds tune better?
Yeah, it will. It'll hold tune better. And I might even do 4 or 5 wraps on the bottom 2 strings because they're so small. On the top strings, they're so thick, if you try to wrap too many wraps, it won't work. Because the string just wraps back up on itself. So this is your string tree. Show that one. This is going to keep the dimension of this string, the angle from that to that nut where we want it. Because without that, it's just going to pop out when Joe's on stage. So it can't pop out. So please don't take your trees off. Leave them on there.
Definitely.
They're there for a reason. And please don't save your strings. You cannot reuse them, okay? They're not reusable. Please.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to ask, because when Eddie Van Halen passed away recently,
I know.
they said he boiled his strings. Is that to make them last again?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. 'Cause I've heard of guys doing that before.
Yeah. Look.
They're not that expensive, folks.
They're not that expensive. Just change them all and throw the old ones away, okay? You're gonna turn your stove on, so now you're spending electricity, water, all this stuff to boil strings when you could have went to the music store and just bought a set. So here's where we go. When you wrap this one, you gotta make sure it's underneath the tree when you do it. It has to be underneath the tree.
Yep.
Because if it's not, it will pop. It will come out. So this tree right here, this is called a string tree. We want the string to go underneath. There's a little lip right there, and we want it to roll on that lip and stay there. And yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt when you start. Because now I let go, it falls down. You just got to keep control of it. That's all. This string's going to get a few more wraps around the peg. If Joe plays anything like the rest of us, we like to bend these strings a lot.
Yeah.
And we vibrato a lot, and we don't want them unwrapping from the machine.
I'm more of a banger.
Okay, well, that's all right. All right, down to the last string. And your string tree holds the last two strings, your E string and your B string. And this tree is made to hold them. Some guitars come with two trees. Some come with one. It just depends on the company and how it was made.
So now I know a lot of people probably are wondering how often you're supposed to change your strings. They probably ask you that. But
yeah.
To me, it's how often you play.
Yeah, how often do you play? How hard you play? Do you sweat? Do you wipe your strings down every time you get done playing? You should be wiping your strings down with a soft rag every time you finish. Because if you don't, they will rust and they will disintegrate. Ask Joe, he'll tell you.
Yeah, ever since I moved to Florida, I realized that I sweat a lot down here.
Yeah.
I've been needing to change my strings. Probably, if I get 2 shows out of a set of strings, I'm pretty happy.
And if you sweat a lot, Spence, I'd like to show you in this area right here, if you do sweat a lot when you're playing, make sure there's little screws in here. They're called saddle screws, and they're to raise and lower the action of each saddle. Make sure you put some WD-40 down in there, and that'll help keep them from rusting out.
Yes. Jud pointed out that I didn't do a good job on that, so thank you. So it's just the screws I need to
Screws, that's
not
it.
the whole saddle. Okay.
I mean, I would concentrate on this whole thing. These springs, yeah, all this is rusted.
All needs to be
I would do this whole little area right here.
Yeah.
Just put rags around everything, cover it, and you'll be fine.
Well, I realized I sweat a lot more down in Florida than I did when I lived back in New York.
All right.
So.
All right, last one, Joe.
All right, last one. The 10.
This is the last string. This is a 10 gauge. When you ask for a set of strings, the lowest number is what you're going to ask for. 9, 10, 11, 12, or 13. That's what you're going to ask for.
Does it make a difference going from the thicker strings to the thinner strings like you just did? Or is it just your preference?
No, just preference.
Okay.
And I pretty much, if I string my guitar, Joe's guitar, anybody's guitar, just take pride in doing it. Especially if it's not yours.
Yeah.
Really take pride in it. It's not your weapon. You don't know how much he loves his guitar. So take pride in doing it.
I do love this guitar, Jud. She's been with me a lot of miles.
So now we're back to the string tree. Make sure that string is pulled up from the back, come up front, get it under that string tree again. And this one, if you get 5 or 6 wraps on it, don't worry about it. It's better than having 1 or 2.
Oh yeah.
Because this is a string that's gonna take the beating. It's the lightest string we have, so it breaks the most.
You still got those few.
Okay, so now I'm gonna make sure it's underneath the tree when I do it.
Under the tree, just like the
Under
Christmas
the tree,
presents.
that's it, just like Christmas. Keep it under the tree. Make sure it stays there the whole time you're winding.
Right.
And there we go. So now what I'll do is I'll put the tuner on.
Are you gonna cut them before you tune, or
Nope.
just? Okay.
Nope, because this isn't the final tune. All I'm doing now is getting the guitar up to tune.
Right.
This is not the final tune. I don't final tune unless it's in my lap.
So when you did the guitar tuning one, did you show them how to use a regular
Yeah.
tuner too? Okay. You also showed them how to do it by ear as well. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So now I'm just getting a rough tuning on it. I'm not going elaborate. I just want to get a rough tuning, and then I'll put it in my lap. All right, so that's rough tuned. Okay, now I will tune it. And what I do is when I'm tuning, just pre-stretch everything. Make sure you stretch everything. This is the way I do it. Everybody has their own way of stretching. So now I'll do a final tune. And go real slow when you're tuning. Don't get in a hurry, because that's when strings get broke. So now I did one pre-stretch and I tuned the guitar all the way up. Now I will do one more stretch just to make sure. Joe knows they're going to stretch. That's a string. I can't help that. But I will get most of the stretch in now. I try to get it out so they won't detune that quick. All right, she's ready. Now I'll cut the strings.
Ta-da!
Thank you. Oh, good. This is the way I cut. I do not cut all the way down. I want a little bit of string out.
Yep.
So I don't go down here beside it like some people, because sometimes it has a tendency to slip. So I cut like this.
Oh, that popped.
Yeah, and then they pop. Well, make sure you don't lose them. So I have a bend, an L bend. All my strings are always straight up in the air. And I don't reach down to cut, I cut straight across.
Okay.
It has a little bit of lip on it, but what that does is that's another safety precaution, because now that string comes out and bends up, so it won't slip on you.
Here, 1 second, Jud.
Yep. So I don't cut beside, I cut on top. I want that L to stay in there. See, it's still coming up. Yeah, I know, Joe. You're gonna get your finger poked.
I always
on
get
it.
my finger cut on those things.
But that little L right there is another protection from this thing sliding.
Oh.
So that's why I do it. Every guitar I own, you'll see it has a little L bend right there.
Yeah, I jump around a lot, so I think my bass player would probably be the one who gets hit by that more than anything.
And once I get them all cut, then I'll do a final, and Joe should be ready to go.
Less expensive than
All right, and this is the last tune on this guitar.
a guitar, right? I'd rather spend $100 than $300. You know, she's short. She's
good.
Four.
Do you find it takes a little time before they settle in, and because
Yeah,
they
they
do go
do.
out of tune a lot
They
earlier?
will.
When you just change them.
As you start playing, they're going to go out of tune. So keep your tuner on your guitar the first couple of days, because they're going to go out, especially if you bend or play really hard. And that would be it. And Joe's guitar is ready to go.
Thank you so much, Jud. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you guys for having me. I hope you learned from it, and just take your time.